Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business, and let's wake up the football gods here on this Saturday morning. I know it's 11 o'clock, and I'm just getting out my morning video. This cold that I got from E2 Blue has been kicking my butts. My sinuses are killing me, so I've got like this sinus pounding, and I took some meds last night, and it knocked me the F out. That, and I was tired. I was real tired from listening to Vosh, Law Nation, and of course my man West Coast Tyson. We did a 2-hour, and I mean 2-hour live stream last night talking about my quarterback, Dak Prescott, and whether or not the offense has become Dak friendly, as well as guys that might be on the bubble. You know, the thing about this team that it hasn't had in forever, when you think about 2017, once we lost Tyron Smith and we lost Sean Lee, and of course Des Bryant was injured, we didn't have players that were ready to step in and take the slack up. 2018, we found out we've got people that get on there. Although Vosh will say that, Cam Fleming is not very good, and he'll say Salafalo isn't good, but I'll say that they were better than going to a Chaz Green. And having those guys step in was part of the reason why we made the playoffs, because we had depth. And that's where we are right now. And as we go through and we start looking at having to pay people, everybody's like, well, if you pay, Dak Prescott and Zeke and Byron Jones and Amari Cooper, there's not going to be enough money left to pay other people. But that's where you're actually wrong. Because the one thing that the Dallas Cowboys have done consistently better than anybody else is draft. What's interesting is almost every year that Will McClay has been the shadow GM, I will call him, the Cowboys have ended up having 9 picks. I always say that the draft is a crapshoot because even though it looks like, a great player that's there talent-wise and everything else, he's got the pedigree, he's got the prototypical size and the abilities, the immeasurables and stuff, sometimes you get in the NFL and they're a bust. Other times you have a guy that you look at and say, meh, he's a nobody, and he falls late in the draft and nobody thinks about him, and that guy works his ass off to become the star that you expect this guy to be. You never know who are going to be. And as you look at the Dallas Cowboys, their roster is not full of free agents. Now, we signed Randall Cobb and we signed Robert Quinn and things to one-year deals, but the majority of your starters are all homegrown talented. Guys that you drafted, undrafted free agents that you signed, or players that you picked up from practice squads. And you have found more talent than anybody else. And this is what you have to do in the NFL. See, if you're a team like the New York Jets, you have to go out and sign a Le'Veon Bell because you didn't draft an Zeke Elliott. You have to go through and you have to try and pay premium prices to get players to fill holes. And that's the amazing thing about the Dallas Cowboys. They look at the Cowboys and say, well, they're not very good because they didn't get any impact players in the draft. Well, the reality is we got impact players galore on our team. Tyron Smith, who's in better shape than he was last year. Zach Martin, who actually started the season and played hurt all season on a bad wheel. Travis Frederick coming back. We don't know if he'll be 100%, but I can guarantee you 90% of him is better than about 80% of the centers in the NFL. And then you have some young studs in Connor Williams. You'll see what Connor McGovern has. And, of course, Zeke Elliott. If he's not a top running back, although I still can't believe they didn't put him in the top 25 and under. And your quarterback is better than people give him credit for. The narrative that's been put out on him is way wrong. The whole dink and dunk. Take a look at Derek Carr. He's got the shortest completion yardage in the NFL at 6.7. Take a look at teams that throw for 5 yards or less. Minnesota, with Kirk Cousins making a boatload of money, is the leader in that, followed by the Jaguars, and they don't really have a quarterback. The Colts with Andrew Luck. So to say that we don't throw the ball down the field is a misnomer. Dak Prescott is 107 with throws over 20 yards downfield. It was our offense that was limiting. But be that as it may, back to my original point. If the Dallas Cowboys sign these cornerstone franchise pieces right here, as long as we continue to draft well, you're bringing in the new blood. And unfortunately, for the players, you're locked into that 4 or 5 years where you're getting paid peanuts. If you get guys at the first and second year that can start plugging in and playing, it creates competition with those older, aging, expensive veterans. And that's where we are on this team. There's some guys that are name players that have been there, that have been great players, that now may not make the team, that may be looked at as older and too expensive. And that's where, as Cowboy fans, we get emotionally attached to a lot of players. And as you should be, because, when you have guys that give everything to the team, that are stand-ups in the community and stuff, you don't want to lose those. You don't want to see those guys get old. But the reality in football is, football keeps on moving constantly, with or without you. And you have to make decisions not with your heart, but with your head. Because if you keep a person who costs more money, and you have somebody in there who can prove just as good or close to it for a lot less, then that means that money can be used elsewhere to help you out with another need. And this is where it starts to get tough. We have a lot of talent. We are deep in a lot of positions. And now the process for the coaching staff, starting next Tuesday, when they start having mini camps, OTAs, phase 3, has to start figuring out who are the best 53s, ability, age, and cost-wise. Yeah, that's the hard part, is saying goodbye. But I'm so happy that we aren't like the New York Jets. When free agency started, we were upset because the Cowboys weren't going after the big name players. You saw the trade, of course, Odell Beckham and stuff going, and Le'Veon Bell's out there, the Antonio Browns. Why don't we go get those guys? Well, those guys are more me guys. Odell Beckham, you cannot argue with the talent that he has, but with it, all those positives and skills and ability, with all the drama, wipes it out. I said years ago, before they signed him to a big contract, that I wouldn't want Odell Beckham for any price on my team, because it's all about him. And maybe that's the youth today and the new age players. I understand there's nothing wrong with a little trash talking, but some of these guys get beyond. Now, Le'Veon Bell held the Steelers hostage, for a big contract, goes to New York, and New York just signs him, hasn't even gotten him in there for practice yet, and it's possible they trade him. But the question is who's going to want to take on a 4-year, $58 million contract for a guy who seems like he can't get along with anybody? Antonio Brown, with Derek Carr having the most throws, Derek Carr having the lowest yards per completion in the NFL, with the Raiders having all their issues, he had Big Ben throwing to him, and he wasn't happy. How do you think it's going to work when they are a losing franchise and he's not getting the ball? Now, Jason Garrett, I've been really critical of, but the one thing I can say that has been amazing to me is when this team was 3-5, when there was rumors of firing Scott Linehan during the bye week, when you were hearing about the next coach that might be coaching the Dallas Cowboys, when you saw the offense unable to really get it together, you saw very little finger pointing. You saw nobody throwing anybody else under the bus. What you saw was a team, and I say a team, that came together, didn't crater, and kept on moving. And that was one hell of a turnaround. To finish the season the way they did, with some momentum, winning a playoff game, I'm still mystified how They're not considered one of the top teams going into next year, but that's okay. I'm okay with ESPN saying that they're like the 19th ranked team in the NFL, that they're terrible, that Green Bay Packers are ninth, that the Cleveland Doo-Doo Browns, which are about to be a powder keg to explode, are the ninth best team, or that 4 teams that the Cowboys beat last year are considered better than the Cowboys. That's okay. That's why I call them the black sheep, because nobody thinks much about them, but they're going to be coming for you. Well, that's all I have to say about that. I apologize for getting this out late. Got to go run around, do some shopping, and then my buddy Clarence wants some bang bang shrimp, so I got about 5 pounds of bang bang shrimp to do for him and a pot of chili. So I'm going to go ahead and get started doing what I got to do, and I will catch you guys later on here with the news on the Dallas Cowboys. Thank everybody who chimed in last night out during our live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I found out I still got one more thing to figure out. I was this close. I got to figure out, and I think I know what I did wrong, how to make sure that this computer and this computer can hear each other. They can hear me, but they can't hear each other. So I think I got to get some more plugs in here and change some stuff a little bit. But other than that, we're great. So as always, friends, thank you all for all the support. We are looking at doing some amazing things this year. I'm going to keep on working hard, keep trying to build, and keep getting this thing together. So keep the faith, friends. I'll see you soon.